you are. You're gone. You quit. We won't see you again. Ha, ha, ha.
Remember, you heard it right here from Detecto Rizzo Mac. Peace.
What's up, everybody? Good morning, or good evening, depending on where you are. Here, it's late as fuck, so I'm just gonna try very hard to stay on topic and get this information out there. What's up? Happy Sunday, right? It's November 10th, here where I am. It is, like I said, early as fuck in the morning. I'm Eve, and tonight Kamala Harris fumbles $1 billion. What? Did you guys know that that's how much she spent on this past election cycle? She wanted to become the president, or at least they wanted her to become the president, and $1 billion was spent and lost. And according to people inside of her camp, $20 million worth of debt. I just don't understand. And this is the person that people wanted to be in control of the national budget. What? I don't. Oh boy. Last night we talked about the confusion, if you will, of certain people and why the crash outs on the internet and these platforms have been en masse. It's so many people got very comfortable filming their ugly cries. I mean, snot and ridiculous yelling and screaming at the phone and posting it so that all of us could see it. It's almost like they said that we wouldn't believe how upset they were if they didn't film their reaction. But, we do exist in a time where people react to things and then film these reactions and then post them online. So it's not really strange as much as, I don't know, I've never really cried over who became the president. I'm very aware of my position as a Black American in the system that was designed to confuse everybody, and a lot of confusion is what I see. Let's see. Last night we talked about how people just are unaware, right? I was going the gentle route with regards to how people have come across information and then they get on different platforms and they start speaking stupid, and it's almost understandable. Almost understandable. I'd say that because everybody uses their phones and everybody has a smartphone now, it's almost inexcusable. If you have such profound and deep and strong feelings about things, wouldn't you do research, and wouldn't you want more information and more information? And at some point, didn't the information not align, especially when you're using their resources to get the information? A lot of our stuff has been blackwashed, if you will. And what I mean by that, redacted. It's taken away from places where you can get other information relatively easily. It's blocked behind a paywall. So again, almost understandable, but I think that, excuse me, if we're being honest, a lot of people stop doing any sort of research because they get comfortable. They're comfortable where they are, with their position inside of this system, and they would really like us to be quiet.
We have to develop a counter strategy. In your chat right now, Roland, I noticed, even though they won, there are all of these chaos agents, these Trump supporters, these fake FBA ADOS people who are relentlessly, everything that comes out of our mouth, they're countering in this chat, and they're amplifying Donald Trump. So even though they won, they're not letting up on their communication strategy, because they understand that this is a cumulative impact of making sure that their narrative is the winning narrative. And so Democrats have to attack all of the conversations we have with the same level of discipline and relentlessness that Republicans are showing. That, to me, is the very first step, is being as relentless and as devoted to countering what the Republicans do. Now, I thought they did a pretty decent job during the Trump era of having their press conferences and pointing out all the bad stuff that Republicans were doing, but they didn't point out all the bad shit they were doing while Biden and Harris were in office. And so they have to not let up this election, for the remainder of the Biden-Harris administration, and they have to invest in the same things that the Republicans have invested in. If they do that, then we have a fighting chance with West or with whoever else will be the nominee in 2028.
Okay, so according to her, Democrats just need to be more relentless in their efforts of reaching people, and then that's going to secure them the vote. $1 billion was spent, and it's not like Kamala had the nomination as long as everybody knew that Trump was running for a long time. Over the year that he was running, he only raised or spent $300 million to Kamala's $1 billion, and her campaign is in debt. People are afraid of not getting paid. Again, this is the woman that people wanted to be in charge of the national budget. But maybe you're saying it's not her fault. Maybe you're saying that she's just, like a cog in the system. And, she just went where they told her to go. And she really had no say in how the money was spent. And maybe there's something there. But according to the people on this platform that we're watching, Roland's platform, they said that the Democrats need to be more relentless in their efforts of reaching the people.
Rebecca.
You know what's really interesting, Reese? I was also reading the comments. I see a lot of FBI and ADOS. And you know what? By any account, I am FBI and ADOS. My family has been in this country for centuries. We have survived for centuries. And what's always interesting is whether it's Tariq or Yvette and they're doing their discussions and they're talking about tangibles or lineage, how are we going to make decisions? And even with thinking about the concept of reparations, that still goes back to the economy, right? Because we're now talking about personal economy. We're talking about things that are owed to those of us who are descendants of people who have built this country. But even still, what's also kind of weird for me, though, is even seeing the bots or the people with misinformation saying, oh, we should just burn the whole thing down. When has that ever, if you're ADOS or FBA, when has it ever been a Black American ideology of just burn all this down? My family built this. And you tell me to burn down everything my family built? No, I'm going to take it over because it's mine anyway.
Well, but here's what's interesting, though, because...
So, any questions?
All clear. This game, you're not ready for it.
Joey, part of this whole deal is the folk who, guys, get Khalil mic'd up, please. The folks who vote for Trump, they want to burn this down.
Oh, yeah.
They want to burn this down. And, see, and that's the thing that I think we have to recognize. We're dealing with people who, Trump appeals to them with this whole idea of, oh, yeah, we're going to gut this whole system. I'm going to bring RFK Jr. and we're going to gut all this sort of stuff. I'm going to bring, Elon Musk is going to just.
Full stop. Roland talking about RFK Jr. gutting anything. Look at him. Good trouble. Yeah, he's in some good trouble, all right. If anybody needs to be gutted, he might need to be gutted. It might help the aesthetic that he tries to give off, I don't know. Roland is a lot of different jokes, it's very easy, but he does it to himself. I mean, the Democrats let Michelle Obama run havoc on the cafeterias in public schools. And I mean, to the tune of things weren't even being seasoned anymore. the children were like, what is this? And, well, we lived through that, didn't we? I think we'll do all right under a Trump RFK Jr. health-wise administration. But I guess if you're looking like Roland and very comfortable because the economy has not you haven't run through your pockets trying to feed your family or feed yourself, or I don't know. I want to say that Kamala's $1 billion blitz didn't include paying people like Roland, but I'll let him talk about that, and then maybe we can have a conversation about that. And also, sorry about the commercials, but that's YouTube doing things, and Roland's trying to get paid one way or another.
Just go through all of government, and we're going to just gut it. And people are like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then, of course, when that hurricane hits North Carolina and South Carolina and Florida, they're like, oh, my God, where's FEMA? Oh, my God, where are you? No. But what do you mean we're out of money? And so, again, when shit hits the fan.
God damn it. Well, while I figure out where I was at, Roland talking about where's FEMA. Did you guys see the story that just came out about one of the FEMA agent director people telling and advising the people under her to stay away from houses that had Trump signage up? I mean, she was so comfortable telling people that she not only told them, but she put it in text message form. These people are relentless, and they said they need to be more relentless.
House. Everybody else always wants us to play the fire. We sounded the alarm in this election. Right last night, when Dr. King talked about walking my people into a burning house. Targeting administration and the policies and getting people
hearing less about policy and they can't.
Yeah. But also I think where Democrats are now is first, who's going to lead the party? And now, what is going to be that strategy to focus on the 2026 midterms?
Yeah.
Also, state races. You've got state races in Virginia next year. So when George was talking about redistricting, you got to say, yo, how do you knock down some of these supermajorities so you have a say when redistricting comes around?
All right, tonight is the night where I get why StreamYard says it would be better if you use this platform with more than one device or screen, because, man, hopping between screens has been crazy. But Roland said Virginia's on their radar, and rightfully so. Virginia's been voting blue since 2004, and with Youngkin on his way out, they would like to maybe try to fill his seat with someone blue to ensure that Virginia continues to vote blue, because I guess we're leaning back red. It's funny how states can lean one way or another way. It's very strange how several states, and by several I mean 6 or 7 states, can determine an election of 345 million people. But I digress. I get back to the other screen.
At the end of the decade.
Yeah.
That's there. I think you have that. Also, you also have to figure out a communication strategy, meaning also communicators. So what he just said, question now becomes, okay, who are going to be those folks? We saw Gavin Newsom a whole lot between January and July. When Vice President Kamala Harris gets the nomination, it was like he disappeared.
He did.
All those Fox News appearances, what happened? I don't know if it was the campaign's call or if that was his call. To Wes's point, I said even last year that if Biden Harris ran this year and they lost, that there was no doubt in my mind Wes Moore was the number 1 in 2028.
Yeah.
Because I've seen him. It's this very weird thing in terms of just how some people. How can somebody communicate with regular ordinary folk, with rich folk, and so some folk have it, some folk don't.
Yeah.
So now the question then becomes, the party's not going to position him.
No.
But how does he position it? Because you're going to need those external voices, targeting the administration and the policies, and getting people focused and interested.
Yeah. Well, first, let me say, I don't want to attach Governor Westmore to the notion that we can't elect a woman, because he, in and of himself, is a sensational politician, exceptionally talented.
How to respond to disrespect, how to stop people from interrupting you, how to come across.
He has all of the intangibles, and then he has the benefit of being a governor of a Democratic state where we just elected a black woman senator who he was behind in the primaries. And so I don't want to attach him to that. I think that he has his own merits on his own record and his credentials. I agree with you on the point of communicators, but I think the number one thing, to your point, is communication and information. Is we have to develop a counter strategy. In your chat right now, Roland, I noticed, even though they won, there are all of these chaos agents, these Trump supporters, these fake FBA ADOS people who are relentlessly, everything that comes out of our mouth, they're countering in this chat, and they're amplifying Donald Trump. So even though they won, they're not.
Are they amplifying Donald Trump, or did Trump and them amplify the people that she's talking about? You know, it's very strange how a message can come from one side and then the other side pick it up later, like they've been tooting this message the whole time. And from Roland's side of things to Charlemagne the God side of things, all of these people are having this come to Jesus moment after the fact, almost like people hadn't been saying things before the election. Last night I talked about how confused people were and how I was confused by their confusion, because you could have called the election when Kamala didn't do anything. I mean, every single chance she had to do something, nothing happened. And I know, the vice president doesn't really have any powers, but according to Joe, and I know even people are saying that Joe's side of things tanked it for Kamala, but he said that she was very instrumental in all of the decisions that were made. So when she says that she doesn't see anything that she would do differently, well, that might be the reason why. Maybe if she's been the designer and implementer behind the scenes for all of the stuff that we've seen, why would she want to do anything different? She's been able to do everything the way she wants to already. I mean, hasn't she already garnered the title of first woman of color president of the United States when Joe took his health spill when Joe was out of commission? I mean, these titles that people are attaching such reverence to and such meaning to, but then say that these positions don't actually have any power, you're going to have to pick a side. And I don't give a damn what side. If you fumble $1 billion, I don't think you should be running for president. Now, I know naysayers are going to say, but Eve, Trump went bankrupt so many times. He fumbled dollars and stuff like that. Okay, I'll give that to you. But maybe I'll ask if you understand how bankruptcy works. How you can have so much debt on purpose and then it all be wiped away. And no, not all, but maybe you went into it knowing that you weren't going to make a profit. Maybe you went into it because you were going to profit immediately and you could afford to take a loss later. There are a lot of systems that Black people are unawares of, and only if you know somebody who knows somebody, or if you've been in the situation, would you even know that there's 1 billion white people, excuse me, 1 billion white people abusing all these systems, from government assistance to housing assistance to insurance assistance to, I don't know, every single type of assistance. White people are abusing it, using it and abusing it. And you got niggas making other niggas feel bad for using government assistance because they don't have any money. And then you want to elect this woman who fumbled $1 billion in a matter of months. I mean, literally in a matter of months. And the people who wanted us to vote for her are saying that we're amplifying Donald Trump's talking points. The stupidity that has been exposed this year is astounding, but gotta have more. Gonna have to eat some more of it.
Lighting up on their communication strategy because they understand that this is a cumulative impact of making sure that their narrative is the winning narrative. And so Democrats have to attack all of the conversations we have with the same level of discipline and relentlessness that Republicans are showing.
No, they want to counter the truth with some bullshit, and they want to be relentless about it. We've been saying that we're owed a debt. And if the Democrats who have been saying that they are our party are not going to participate in rectifying, course correcting, solving, paying, doing anything about the debt, well, then we don't want any parts of it. It's so simple. They're out here trying to complicate it and confuse people because essentially most of America is not online. Most of America is some average person going to work, trying not to get in trouble if they're Black. And if they're white, well, they haven't gotten caught yet, so they're not breaking any laws. Sorry if you feel some kind of way about that, but that's the truth. And now, well, I guess that used to be the truth. The truth now is that you've got those people I just talked about, and you've got an influx of people who are not from here, who are here, who would like to be here, but they want things to be very easy. They said the niggas went through all that shit already. Why are we having to go through any of this? What is going on in America? Y'all lied. But we still want to be here. So, how do we get in where we fit in? I mean, Roland being mad that Virginia is leaning red, the person on the ballot next year for governor is a Black Jamaican. Excuse me. Whoa. Okay. 2 times in a row.
That to me is the very first step, is being as relentless and as devoted to countering what the Republicans do. Now, I thought they did a pretty decent job during the Trump era of having their press conferences and pointing out all the bad stuff that Republicans were doing, but they didn't point out all the bad shit they were doing while Biden and Harris were in office. And so they have to not let up this election, for the remainder of the Biden-Harris administration, and they have to invest in the same things that the Republicans have invested in. If they do that, then we have a fighting chance with West or with whoever else will be the nominee in 2028.
Rebecca.
You know what's really interesting, Reese? I was also reading the comments. I see a lot of FBA ADOS. Yep. You know what? By any account, I am FBA ADOS. My family has been in this country for centuries. Mm-hmm. We have survived for centuries. And what's always interesting is whether it's Tariq or Yvette and they're doing their discussions and they're talking about tangibles or lineage, how are we going to make decisions? And even with thinking about the concept of reparations, that still goes back to the economy, right? Because we're now talking about personal economy. We're talking about things that are owed to those of us who are descendants of people who have built this country. But even still, what's also kind of weird for me, though, is even seeing the bots or the people with misinformation saying, oh, we should just burn the whole thing down. When has that ever, if you're ADOS or FBA, when has it ever been a Black American ideology of just burn all this down? Yeah. My family built this. And you tell me to burn down everything my family built? No, I'm going to take it over because it's mine anyway.
Well, but here's what's interesting, though, because, Joey, part of this whole deal is the folk who, guys, get Khalil mic'd up, please. The folks who vote for Trump, they want to burn this down.
Oh, yeah.
They want to burn this down. And see, and that's the thing that I think we have to recognize. We're dealing with people who, Trump appeals to them with this whole idea of, oh, yeah, we're going to gut this whole system. I'm going to bring RFK Jr. and we're going to gut all this sort of stuff. I'm going to bring, Elon Musk is going to just go through all of government and we're going to just gut it. And people are like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then, of course, when that hurricane hits North Carolina and South Carolina and Florida, they're like, oh, my God, where's FEMA? Oh, my God, where are you? No, but what do you mean we're out of money? And so, again, when shit hits the fan, Joy, now it's going to be like, okay, where's government? But now let's gut everything. It's like, all right, let me know how that works.
I'm sorry. We can definitely gut a lot of the things that the government is supposed to be providing because they're not providing the things to the people who are supposed to be here. For example, and I've spoken about this before, English language learners, ELL, in schools. That's a whole thing because our country uses the work of people who are undocumented, who should be very comfortably known as illegals, and they have children, and their children are supposed to be able to go to school because the law says that if you are under the age of 18 existing in this country, you are afforded the privilege of public education. But what if you don't speak English? What do we do then? It didn't used to be a problem on the school's budget until there were an influx of students with parents and students who couldn't speak English. Now you have to hire a whole bunch of translators because what the fuck are these kids going to be doing in the school outside of taking up space and using up the resources? Now you've got more heads to feed, you've got more people to bus. Have you guys seen the busing situation for public schools? It can't just be where I live that children are riding 3 and 4 and 5 to a seat, having to stand up because bus drivers aren't getting paid to deal with the shit that they have to deal with. And well, now you have to tack on the fact that some of these children and parents don't speak English. So communication, it's all fucked. Yeah, I know I told you about the lady who was telling people to stay away from Trump residents who have Trump signage up. Where is FEMA? Well, I guess people were asking where they were because they were getting directives from up top saying, stay away from these houses. And as you all know, a lot of the places that were affected were quote, quote, sundown towns. So I guess stereotypically Trump land and people who would be voting for Trump. So, oh no, I guess that's why people didn't see FEMA. But Roland doesn't want to talk about that. He says that they are battling Trump. No, they fought with the couch and lost. How do you lose to an inanimate object? That's like people who hit things that aren't moving. You know, like really bad drivers. They run into stationary objects. Everybody can understand a car accident when the vehicles are moving. Maybe you didn't see them coming. Maybe they didn't see you coming. But to hit some shit that doesn't move, that you saw was there from a mile away, that's insane. Maybe it's not insane. I don't know. Maybe we just exist in insane times.
Because what's at the root of this is that, let's go back to this Make America Great Again, is going back to a time period when the functional government of this country was only focused on the needs and the desires of wealthy white men. That's it. Right? Because it's eventually like, so getting rid of these extra protections and you having equity and getting rid of the bloated government that provides support for everybody else, this socialist government that provides support for people that should pull themselves up by their bootstraps, in this, sort of American lie of how people were able to build on their own without the help of anybody else or any other entity. That is, all of that is centered around going back to a time frame where an Elon Musk, where a Donald Trump, where all of these quote unquote titans of industry, right, could rape and pillage a country and it benefit them and only them, and not provide for anybody else.
Now, here's my problem with that. That time that she's talking about, those white people, they weren't facing the black people of now. I'm so tired of black people saying that they can't fight. I mean, that's all I hear from these people. They don't want to fight for what's theirs. And then from Roland, it's not his, so he doesn't want to fight. He just wants to get. So we are fighting people who are supposed to be fighting with us and want to benefit, and people who don't have a dog in the fight but want to benefit, and people who don't want us to get what's owed to us because they are the people who owe. And shit, I don't know, aliens from outer space? I guess the only things we're not fighting is goddamn nature. unless you hang out with them people. Because nature, I don't know that nature really fucks with us. As much as I've seen a lot of them people get mauled and hauled off and just, well, if you're in the ocean, that's where sharks live. And if you're in the woods, that's where bears live. And if you're on the savannah, you might meet up with an elephant or a lion. I mean, shit, if you're in one of the poles, you might meet up with a polar bear. I'm not exaggerating. All of those animals have been on camera attacking them people just on some, because they were there, or maybe they were fucking with the habitat or the animal. I don't know. Self-inflicted wounds. But what isn't a self-inflicted wound is Black America staying home and or, not voting for Kamala, because we in fact saved the nation from a person who would have turned America into the United Immigrant States of America. I don't know. We were on our way to a name change, because there's zero way that you can continue to say fuck the American people and be called America. Roland talked about Virginia. I want to talk about Virginia. Let's see if I can pull this up. The last time Virginia voted red was in 2004. I think you guys can see my screen now. Yep. So, ever since then, there's been a shift. There, you got 2008. Now you got 2012. 2016, but there's a commercial in the way. There it is. 2016, blue. Okay, 2020, blue. And this year, also blue. And maybe you're wondering why the fuck that even matters. It matters because, well, for the past couple of months, I've been talking about the Electoral College and how the numbers have been virtually the same since 1929, and how there's a law that went on the books about these numbers, about the 435 or 535, or why we need 270 to win, and how all of this makes the president. To me, it matters because if the population decides how many votes the state gets, well, maybe you would look at the state's numbers, how it's grown or declined over the years. Virginia is a state where we used to have, I don't know. It's like, I do know, but I just can't find the tab right now. The immigrant population of Virginia used to be sugar. Oh, here it is. So this is according to Cardinal News. And this data is from December 2022. So you're going to have to give or take, but really you can give. But this is the distribution of Virginia's immigrants. Okay, this matters because when you look at how Virginia actually voted, you would think that Virginia would have voted red, but it's these pockets of immigrants, excuse me, that changes the narrative, or I'm sorry, changes the landscape. Everything starts looking different because of where people are and how they're able to, well, I guess how they're able to vote. It's also very strange because the places that voted blue have a lot of money. And it's like, how are these people able to access this wealth, but they're not from here? There's like no hierarchy, or there's no, well, I guess favoritism, God damn it. Why is there no favoritism given to American citizens for jobs, resources, and benefits, but people who are not from here get jobs, resources, and benefits? These are things that I don't understand unless the reason is to replace us with people who will work for less and do more because they're not owed the same things. And, well, if that's the answer, I get it. But if that's not the answer, I mean, can somebody tell me? It's a real question. I'm not being facetious. It's not rhetorical. I really want to know. Okay, well, over the years, this is how the immigrant population in Virginia has grown from 1990 in the 100,000s to the millions. Again, according to Cardinal News, Virginia's population of immigrants has more than tripled over the past 30 years. And that, my friends and foes, is the reason why all of this matters to me. Because if just in 2004, which is 20 years ago, so 10 years into Virginia's immigrant population, we start shifting to blue, and now here we are blue. We didn't get more electoral college votes, but it did sway the electoral college. And if the electoral college is something that people agree is something that could be, I don't know, done away with, niggas ain't 3/5 of a person no more. We're not fractions of people. We have constitutional rights, supposed constitutional rights. Can't we do some things about these things? Isn't our Constitution a living body that has allowable amendments? People are trying to make you afraid of a Trump presidency when you should be very excited about a Trump presidency. And maybe if you ask me why, because I'm about to tell you, the reason why would be this is the first person who's gotten in office who's been fuck all these rules that y'all say are out there. I'm going to do what I want to do. And maybe if niggas wasn't so afraid of conversations with the boogeyman, we could be on our way to a tangible solution to our reparative debt. But the Democrats have been trying to make you afraid of the orange man. And, well, the Republicans aren't really getting it right because they kind of want us to ignore our debt. I don't give a shit who's in office. That motherfucker needs to pay. And if they don't pay, the next person needs to pay. I don't care if we're going through a war, through a pandemic, through experiments, through an immigration boom. Everything needs to wait. And I know that this is the solution because we have the power to move the economy. They keep saying that we're going to trick off what's owed to us on Jordans and trinkets. But I don't know that that's really what they're afraid of. I think that they're afraid of actual progress because if you look at how Kamala's campaign ran through $1 billion in a matter of months, you would see that It's not the trinkets that move people. It's everything else. If you were wondering who Kamala is going to blame at the end of the day, it's this woman right here, Jen O'Malley Dillon. This is the woman that Kamala's camp has been blaming for all of the concerts and all of the celebrities and all of this extra money spent. But I mean, can you blame her? Look at her. She's in charge of running the first person of color woman's campaign for president in a matter of months. Like, she has to put on this whole identity and try to figure out the American people. So she probably went online, looked at some stupid shit like World Star. Maybe she tunes into The Root, The Griot. I don't know, Roland. She might have watched your show, but when there are only this many swing states and they all went red, I don't know. Maybe throwing somebody on the ticket with months to go is not the way. Maybe expecting people to do something for nothing is not the way. Maybe the American people, which mostly consists of Black Americans, have been saying, the math ain't mathin'. Cut the check, run me my bread, make things make sense. And then you ignore us and throw a concert at us. And then people find out how much you spent on these concerts, because let's not forget all of these people from Steve Harvey to, well, I don't know, Roland. Did you get paid? You're bitching about the money, but these other people got paid. Did you get paid or did you do it for free? Because niggas ain't working for free. That's why they have these illegals over here. But if you're not an illegal, you're going to have to get with the program, Roland. Or, I don't know, Trump might round you up. You're starting to look a little like a person who just got here. Like you don't understand the ways of the people that you've been cosplaying as your whole fucking life. I'm so confused about people's confusion, but let me redirect myself back to Virginia, but let's talk about this. Oh shucks. Here it is.
Others for Norfolk family. 10 on your side told you the story of a murder outside a Norfolk convenience store that has rattled business owners. Tonight, I have the story of why this murder may have happened and the plight of the suspect's relatives who are victims of another kind.
Now, full stop, the murder that she's talking about has nothing to do with what I'm showing you. It has nothing to do with what they're talking about. This is some all niggas is related shit. And if one bad person does something, then, bad shit happens to that people's family. And I don't know if y'all are tired of that narrative, but I am. So just throwing that out there. The murder that happened, while he is related to the family, nothing to do with what we're going to talk about tonight.
From a makeshift kitchen inside a small hotel room,
Well, basically, this is where I prepare their dinner.
Rio Jones has figured out a way to feed 5 children. A 3-year-old, a 1-year-old, and 4-year-old twins greeted me at the door. Their lives have been turned upside down since they were evicted from an apartment in the Norview section of Norfolk a few months ago. It was shared by 3 generations, including this man, 52-year-old Archie Jones. Jones was arrested late last month and charged with murder after the stabbing death of 35-year-old Brandon Rhodes outside the Tiny Giant convenience store. Gail Jones is the suspect's sister.
I started noticing the changes in my little brother.
Family members say Jones had mental health disorders and at times his behavior was threatening.
I know he has bipolar, schizophrenic, personality disorder, anxiety. You know, he may have several other ones, but those are the ones that I'm aware of.
While Archie Jones remains behind bars, the rest of the family relies on social programs and donations from a church. What did the crisis hotline tell you?
The crisis hotline told me because I'm paying out of pocket at hotels that it's not first priority to help me and my 5 children. It's not until we're sleeping in a car or we had nowhere to go that night that they would assist us.
Now, the family is on a wait list for housing with the Norfolk Redevelopment and Housing Authority. As I left their hotel room, the little ones hugged my knees and ankles and said, "Have a nice day."
Even in the trenches, the little babies are just full of joy. And I can't say for sure that this is a Black American family going through some shit, but it's sounding and looking like a Black American family. One member of the family having mental issues that the family is unable to do anything about because resources are lacking for, I don't know, reasons like generational poverty, and then other people in said family being evicted and having to rely on government programs, but being turned away from government programs because they're not quite poor enough. What? One of the comments on that video, it said, "I'm tired of being on the waiting list because wavy news 10 taking up for sad stories and stories of violence. I've been on the NRHA wait list for 3 years. I refuse to be continuing to be on the wait list and have my case skipped because of sad stories and violent stories by the media." And I mean, that's rough, right? Because essentially the news is using this family's plight as a I don't know, clickbait at this point. It doesn't seem like they tried to help them set up any sort of GoFundMe. I looked for one. If y'all are aware of one, please let me know. I would love to help this family get out of a hotel. Having 5 children in a hotel room is insane. Most of y'all know we have 5 minis, but we got space for them. And then when we do have to go out into the world and stay in a hotel, it's not in, I'd be very claustrophobic in the amount of space that woman and those 5 children were taking up. But we're very blessed to not have those conditions. But it doesn't mean that people who are going through that shit aren't owed something from someone. And I believe, and most of y'all know, that there is a very specific group of people in this country that are owed and continue to get passed over. And it's not because of sob stories as much as our sob stories get used for the news. And then, well, whatever happens to that family, who knows? Whatever happens to the murderer, well, that's public record in this state. You can look it up. Another comment in the same video The crisis center is a joke. They told me that they couldn't do nothing for me and my daughter. Virginia shows no love until someone commits suicide or take extreme measures to survive. Unless you're in the military or an immigrant, there is literally no help. I even got denied SNAP benefits because I had to give them a termination letter from my old job. I have never heard of that. Shaking my head. That's insane. Because, I mean, what if your job fires you and is on some fuck you shit? So not that they won't give you a letter of termination, but it got lost in the mail, or you're not allowed on the premises anymore because you're hostile, or I don't know, you've moved. We have to jump through all these fucking hoops, and these people who got here yesterday just don't have to speak English. And shit, they probably do speak English, if we're being honest. I wonder what Kamala would have done with $1 billion as president. Or if she already told us what she was going to do. And you niggas have been out here trying to confuse us some more. But people who are confused would be people who confuse other people. I mean, that shit makes a lot of sense to me. The more and more I think about where we are as a country and why the landscape is what it is, if we don't do anything about little problems that start to fester, they turn into very big problems. California being blue, being the state that every state wants to be, quote, quote, not really. They are trying to protect people who are not from here. I think Illinois' governor also said that they wanted to protect people who are not from here. And that sounds like treason. But I don't want to go into a whole nother topic tonight as much as I do want to leave you with this. Oh shit. I thought I was about to be super smooth and have the click right there. I didn't, but there.
Do you want to see how much money you're eligible for? If you were in a car crash within the last 2 years, that was
fearful that the country's changing. And so what Donald Trump has done is he's, shall we say, exploited that. Now, I think we need to also say, in light of that shift, and we could call it neoliberalism and the crisis of it, or however we want to describe it, but the Obama coalition may very well be dead. But I do know this too, the third way Democrat is dead. Now, the interesting thing about the conversation that we're having about the postmortem is that folk will want to lurch back to the right with regards to the Democratic Party. But when they're lurching back to the right, they're going back to what the DLC did, which is in effect concede the ground to Reaganism, concede the ground to the philosophy that has produced this selfishness, this greed, and intensification of hatred in some ways. And so part of what we have to do, I think, and I'll be quick here, is to be honest about where we are. And if we're honest where we are, it's not about what Kamala Harris didn't do. It's about who we are.
Excellent point, my brother. Being honest about where we are. 2024 America, Black America said, we don't work for free. And from our vote to actually working, you will pay us, and you will pay us wages that make sense. And yeah, we're gonna have to do something about these people who are taking less because they're fucking up the economy. Like, y'all want to talk about the economy being fucked up because things cost more. Maybe the economy's fucked up because people are working for less. This man said, who are we? Well, who are we? Because if you are one of those people who believe that America is a melting pot, well, shame on you. Because the history books are available for everybody at your public library for free. Bare minimum, you can see that America is a country of white invaders and black people who were here before they got here. Now the country is a mixture of those people plus a bunch of people who got here later. And all of those people have their hands out. They have their hands out because they're used to having something put in it. You know, people aren't going to have their hands out if they're not getting anything, unless you're Roland. No, sorry, Roland. I find that Kamala's $1 billion blitz is exactly what happens across the country when money is being mismanaged in the same households that wanted us to vote for her. I mean, mismanaged in a form where you've got family who needs help, but you would rather give your time, money, and extras at church. And not the church that your family goes to. Like, what is that? Shit, all y'all go to church, but you can't even give back at the church that your family goes to. Or sorry, having the craziest sneezing attacks tonight. But got a lot of people who feel like they have something to give. When the cost of groceries costs what they cost where you live, and the cost of gas costs what it costs where you live, and you see that everything has been inflated, but the amount of money that you're making for the job that you're doing hasn't increased, well, maybe it's because people are working for less. Until America gets very comfortable with that honest idea, that is, I mean, maybe a certifiable fact at this point, well, maybe then the country can do something. Or maybe the country is on its way. Voting for Trump, who has pledged to round up 11 million people who are not supposed to be here, I think that's a very good start. It's almost like America's getting its flea bath, which means that I called it a little while ago. Maybe you remember, or maybe you don't, because YouTube was hating on me when I had that show, and then I had that other show, and I think both of them got taken down for medical misinformation. Because who the fuck out there said that I actually meant that the country was going to take a flea bath? Like, y'all are retarded.
We don't want you to be quick, Eddie Glaude. We don't invite you on here to be quick. Take your time. You've got 3 hours.
I mean, this whole yes, that is it. It's not about, how can we, I've been very dismayed actually by this whole working class voter conversation, because are Black people not working class?
Okay.
Are like, if you really want to boil it down, if it's really about the issues, if it's really about the message, how did the message break through to Black working class people and it didn't break through to the majority of anybody else? And I see y'all white women and Hispanic voters out there that are in my inbox right now saying, but we voted for her. Yes, but let me explain this how this works, okay? As a Black woman in America, if something happens and somebody does something, then it's like, I understand I didn't do it, but we got to address the things for everybody else. So this is the box that we're in. I understand there are white women out here that voted for Kamala Harris, but baby, 52% of y'all voted for Donald Trump, and this was not the first time. So now, for the third time, so y'all got to come together and address it internally. So I understand you didn't do it, but enough people did, but y'all got to have a conversation. So that's just how, I'm just helping you understand, this is just how it works. But
I'm glad she said that, because Black America, this is how it works. All of us might not have done the stupid thing, but we all have to have a reckoning of sorts. I mean, even if it's just to expose the coons amongst us, like, people really are stuck on stupid. The glitch is real. So for Kamala to blow $1 billion because her white manager of the monies said that she should throw a bunch of concerts and have Oprah interview her, is like, people are living under a rock. When has Oprah been relevant in Black America in the past 10 years? the fact that Obama couldn't bring himself out of whatever cave him and Michelle have been hiding up in since he hasn't been president anymore. Like, even they were showing you that how we did it, I don't know if this is the move, because, you know, after the fact, you got to go into hiding. But no, Kamala's not going to go into hiding. They're going to try to force another 40 years out of her and us by putting her in the Supreme Court. But that's another conversation for another night. I hope y'all enjoyed tonight's late night session of my thoughts on what the fuck is going on and why America is stuck on stupid. But they'll cut the check. They will definitely cut the check. And that is how America gets to be great again.
Just Eve. Just Eve. Just Eve. Put the check black first because it's brilliant. People talk too much. Say less. Remain on code. Follow the spirit. When the going gets tough, it's time for resilience. A fight inherited, no turning back. We're on our way. Tune into Eve at the end of your day. Defying the odds. She's breaking the mold. Black, beautifully blunt. Eve's story is bold. Unpopular talks, but they need to be heard. Eve's on a mission, spreading the word. Black America is fighting the oldest fight. Using her voice, shining the light. Stay ready, stay strong, that's her creed. Eve's got the wisdom, planting the seed. Just Eve. Just Eve. Just Eve. Just Eve.